Benvenuto! Welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. We promised you this a couple weeks ago, and I'll tell you a little bit more as we go on the process here. But today we're going to make an apple pie, okay? And we're going to use my mom's apple pie filling recipe, which is delicious. Okay, before I get into our story about getting this video out to you, we'll talk about our apples, okay? So now my mother always used Granny Smith apples. I guess you can use any baking apple that you so choose. Some people like to use a mixture of different types of apples, but since this is my mom's apple pie filling, that's what we're going to use. All right, so you need about 8, medium to large size Granny Smith apples, depending upon the size of your pan, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so for our nice apple pie seasoning, we're going to need some ground cinnamon. We're going to need, we've got some nutmeg there, ground nutmeg, and some allspice. Of course, all the exact measurements will be in the description. Then we need half a cup of brown sugar, packed. I'm using dark brown sugar, but you can use light if that's what you want. Half a cup of white sugar. We're going to need some butter and some flour to make our roux. And then we're also going to need an egg, a large egg, and a splash of water or milk to make a egg wash. All right, now, I just thought I'd quickly go over, of course, that's 8 peeled and sliced Granny Smith apples. All right, guys, I don't know. Peeling the apples, of course, is the most tedious thing about an apple pie. Sounds the way I do it. Nothing exciting about it. But you want to get all the peel off. Didn't do it in one scoop that time, but that's all right. Now, my apple pie might be a little bit different than some of the apple pies, other recipes you see, because we begin to cook them before we get them into the pie. Into the pie plate. All right, so that's basically got all of our peel off there. All right, now, if you've got an apple corer and you're really good at that, of course, go ahead and do that. I don't have an apple corer, which I'd probably chop my finger off. I'm better with chopping my finger off with a knife than. All right, so I just cut that in half. Excuse me. And I just kind of get as close to the core as I can. And I always left a little skin there. I always just kind of feel down the middle a little bit to make sure I haven't gotten into that membrane. Now, I'm not concerned with the apples browning because these are going to go in a nice thick sauce, which is going to brown. Anyway, so our apples will be browned. All right, and now, really the reason I wanted to go through that of the peeling it is because, of course, depending upon how thick you cut your apples is going to depend upon the texture of your finished project, okay, and or the amount of time it's going to take for you to bake. All right, so now I like the apple soft but firm enough to hold a shape. Some people like a little bit of bite to the apple. Some people like it as really, really mushy. I kind of like it in a little bit in between, but a little closer to the really soft side. So I cut my apples relatively thin. All right. And, of course, you're not going to get a perfect one every time. But so I like to cut them relatively thin. Opposed to, say, a thick cut like that. All right, we're going to cut that one in half because I don't want it to spoil everything. All right, so I'm going to finish cutting this up. And we might as well put our heat source on. And we'll start to warm that up a little bit. Now, I said I was going to talk about the pan a little bit. So, I've got a 9-inch pie plate. It looks like it might be a deep dish. Now, I went out and specifically bought this for you guys today because, as I said, we have made several apple pies. For anybody that's watched us, we talked about pie pastry. I finally kind of found a pie pastry I liked and could work with. But normally when I make an apple pie, I use the store-bought pie pastry, which of course is delicious. But I've been obsessed with getting this to turn out the exact same way my mother's have. So I think we've made three pies trying this out. All right, so now the reason I went out and bought a new pie plate is my bottom crust was not was a little soggy. Nobody wants a soggy bottom. My bottom crust was a little not cooking quite through. So I've been obsessed with watching videos and listening to reading recipes. Let me just rinse off my hands quick. About how to avoid having a uncooked bottom crust, or even more importantly, what to do if your bottom crust is not cooked. But one of the suggestions it said is that it suggested to use a ceramic pie pan. That glass doesn't hold the heat enough, which could be possible. The ceramic is thinner, more porous, so possibly it holds the heat better. We're going to try that. I've tried everything else except using this ceramic pan. And then another suggestion I had is that you're going to most likely use a cookie sheet to put the pan on. And one of the suggestions I've seen said is put your cookie sheet in the oven as it's preheating, get the cookie sheet really hot, and then put your pie pan right on the cookie sheet, which again, I guess it makes sense because that is going to retain a certain amount of heat. The other thing you want is, I picked this up at Brookfield Orchards in Massachusetts years ago. This is just, to cover up the side of your pan. All right, so your crust doesn't over brown. If you don't have one of these, use some tin foil. But my other pan is 9.5 and it wouldn't fit. This is a 9-inch pan and that fits perfectly. All right, so our pan should be hot. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is grab a spatula or a stirring device. Sorry about that. All right, so I got my pan heating up and we're going to put our butter in there and get it all nice and melty, because what we're going to do is we're going to make a roux, which is going to thicken our sauce in the pie. What is that? What would that be called? It's not sauce. It's the filling, the liquid and the juices from the apple, and I don't know what that's called. What is that? Kind of thick inside. Anyway, yeah. We'll figure it out. Way to put
Can't think of anything right now.
I cannot think of it right now. He'll figure it out and he'll put a word over it. If anybody, when you watch this and send us a shout out in the comments. Say that's what it is. All right, so like I said, there's nothing magical to this. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. So we're going to make a roux. All right. So I've got a half a stick of butter here, and I've got 3 heaping tablespoons of butter. So, or I should say rounded. It looks like what?
Like a whole stick of butter.
No, I'm sorry. Well, it's a half a cup of butter, which is is 1 whole stick. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So yes, but it's a stick of butter. Mm-hmm. Or if you've got your butter in the little fourths, it's 2 of the fourths. All right, so we got this going. We're bubbling a little bit. You can see that, all right? And I don't know if mentioned it, but we will need a little bit of water. So we're going to put our flour in and start to stir it up. So of course what we're doing is we want to cook off the raw flour taste. We don't necessarily have to bring any color to this because our brown sugar and our spices are going to do that, but we want to get it. And that usually, you know, again, we've done this before. The only way I've ever described it that I agree kind of how it is it loses that flour smell, and it'll start to smell just like a little tiny nutty. And that usually takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But it's important, you want to keep stirring this as you're doing this, because the minute you stop stirring, it will burn. And this little hot plate here does not really react quickly to the temperature change. But of all the frying pans I have, different sizes and everything, none of them work on my induction. Well, that's not true. The newer ones, they're small though, too small for this. All right, I think that's good, guys. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our brown sugar. And start to stir that in. So as I said, we are going to, we're going to start to cook the apples a little bit on top of the stove. And we can turn that up again. Now I can turn it this way. Just going to get those mixed in a bit, because you'll see a very small amount of liquid, how fast this is going to come together. So we've got a 1/4 cup of water. And look at how much that small amount of water starts to make everything mix together. Now I want to bring this up to just about, really right before it starts to boil. Before I add let me clean my mess there. Before I add my spices in. And just remember, keep stirring, especially if you're going to go from a low heat to a high heat to bring it to a boil. Now that almost looks like a caramel, doesn't it? To me it does. It even starts to smell like a caramel sauce, of course. Now, I think this would be delicious without the cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. But of course, it being that fall season, those are the typical kind of fall flavors that we all love so much. And those are usually, at least cinnamon and nutmeg are almost always found in apple pie. All right, there we are. We're just boiling. I'm going to turn this down because, like I said, this little heater does not react really fast, or it holds the heat. All right, and we'll put in our cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. Now it smells like an apple pie. I wonder if universally and across the country, America that is at least, if those are the cinnamon and nutmeg at least are commonly used in apple pie, or I don't know if it's just a New England thing. The nutmeg might be, because I think New England is, nutmeg is a New England thing. But anyway, again, anybody comment, let us know if you're not in the New England area, if you use cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice in your pie. All right, so at this point, we're gonna add our apples. Be careful not to splash it all over you, because that's hot molten deliciousness. And you're going to just slowly incorporate these. Now, what we want to do is, I like to get them just kind of all mixed in there first. And us could probably use a little bit bigger a pan for this. It'd be a little easier to mix it, but this was kind of about as big as I could fit on this little one burner. So that you didn't have to look at us from the back when we were cooking on the stove. All right, so now I'm going to bring that up slightly again because I want to bring this back to a boil. And then once it comes back to that really, just about a boil, a really high simmer, we're going to turn it down and we're going to put the cover on and we're going to stir it every 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending upon how long it takes to start them to feel a little bit softer. But that's going to take about 15 minutes once it comes to a boil. Or back to a boil, I should say. So I think this is doing 2 things that you don't get when you just put your apples in your pie crust. All right, one of them being is when you're, of course you put your brown sugar and your granulated sugar just over the apples and then stir them. And if you've got your spices and stuff still, you're not going to get every apple coated with your deliciousness. So by melting our butter and making our roux and then putting everything together, I think you just get a really nice coating of all the apples. I'm just going to make you stay with me until this just starts to boil again because I want to show you. All right, and there it goes. You can see we got little bubbles coming up. That's a high simmer. All right. And we'll just give them one final spin. All right, so that's going to take 10, 15 minutes. We'll see you in 10 or 15 minutes. All right, our apples have been gently simmering on a low simmer for about 13, 14 minutes. And we should have apple pie magic as far as I'm concerned. Now, I've stirred this a couple times in between those bites, but look at that. See? We got our nice thick filling. The juices that will loosen up a little bit as it bakes because some of the apples are going to give up some more of their moisture. Now, at this point, the apples are tender. They're not cooked all the way through. They're a little bit foldable. That's just what I want them. Now, this is a really good time if you're not going to finish your pie. Let this cool down, put it in an airtight container, and you can throw this in the freezer. It would certainly hold in the refrigerator for a couple of days, and I say you could safely freeze this for 3 to 4 months. If you make a batch every other day, you'll have enough to make a dozen apple pies at Thanksgiving. All right, all right. So at this point, we're going to take this off the heat, and we're just going to leave it covered, and we're going to put it right here. And we're going to go on to our next step, which is to roll out our homemade pastry dough. Let me get everything set up and we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, we're back, but it's actually 2 weeks later. Is it 2 weeks?
Yep.
Sorry guys, we didn't put a video out last week. My intent was to do this video. I wanted to make you all an apple pie, at least using the filling that my mother used to use. So we got that all made. And as you know, I have been on the quest to be able to do my own homemade pie crust. Well, I think this is my 5th apple pie, and I have not been able to get the crust to roll out the way I wanted to. Now, don't get me wrong. We completed each pie, we cooked it, and we ate it. They were delicious. They just looked terrible. So last week, after we got the pie filling down, I was so discouraged trying to roll out that pie crust that I just couldn't go on any further. So anyway, we're back with the new batch of apple pie filling and a new method. Hopefully, I've done the bottom crust and it came out pretty good. Good enough, I think I can show it to you. And you all won't fall off your chairs laughing as I try to do it. And we're also going to put the link to the YouTube video that I kind of learned how to do this. No, not kind of. Learned how to do this method. All right, so we got this is going to be our top pie crust. All right, now I've just taken that from the refrigerator. I haven't let it rest or come up to room temperature. I do have my oven set at 450 because this, or preheating right now at 450. I didn't preheat it until I'm just doing this step because our kitchen gets very, very warm when that oven is on, especially at 450. So I've got a baking sheet covered with some aluminum foil in there already because one of the other tips I've looked is my quest to get the perfect consistency and the perfect cook. It said that if you put your sheet pan in and put your pie right on top of it when it's hot, it helps cook the bottom. And last time it did. So anyway, so we're going to use the parchment paper method. Now, I don't know. I had said to Wade earlier, I said, I'm not sure if we're going to do that. It seems like I'm cheating doing that. But I tried it and it came out really good. So this is going to be my way to do it. All right, we've got 2 pieces of parchment paper. You'll notice in the link that we're going to videotape, he had his cut perfectly. I don't have mine cut perfectly. But anyway, so now we got one of the other reasons this is a good method is because we're not going to add a lot of additional flour, which isn't going to dry out your crust and make it tough. All right, we just need a very small amount of flour on the first sheet. Also, the mess is not as bad. All right, we got our cold dough. Put a little flour on it. All right, just a tad more. And then we don't need to flour the top one. We're going to put the top piece of parchment paper on top of it. Now, this dough is very cold. It just came from the refrigerator, so you don't need to be timid with it, all right? I wanted to get a French rolling pan. I have searched all over the place for French rolling pan. I'm gonna have to order one, but anyway, do what?
Rolling pin?
Oh, pan, I said rolling pan, huh? Yeah, sorry. See, I get talking so fast and then I lose my train of thought. Rolling pin. I tried to get a French rolling pin, even drove to a store today because they said they had 2 in stock, but they had none in stock. Anyway, so we're going to use a good old-fashioned American twirly rolling pin. All right, so the first thing you want to do is give it a good push down in the middle, then to the side, and this side. Like I said, this is right from the refrigerator, so don't be shy. Again, we'll give it a good push, And the nice thing about this is you can also turn your paper. Might want to take off your top tiny bit more flour. I don't think it's really necessary, but it's not going to hurt. All right, and then he said to go north, south, east, and west. All right, so again, this is cold, so we're going to have to give it a good push, and I can't get it not to fall off the counter without doing it like this. So we're going to take that in the middle and do it just about the edge. Try not to go over the edge. And then, and it's going to start to look a little misshapen as you go through this, but don't worry, it's all going to get. And then on the diagonal. And it will start to soften up as, of course, as you roll it out. And you can take it off, and mine's getting a little unround just because I probably didn't have it flat right there, but that's not that big of a deal. Put just a little bit more And let's turn that over. And just take that off a little bit. And we're going to start over again. So we're going to go. Of course, the reason he had his nicest cut is I didn't do that. So if you want to cut yours, cut it. So we're going to go north, south. I went a little southeast there, but that's right. And then we're going to turn it. Turn it, and then to the sides. And again, if you just do a quick, put a little bit of flour right there. Just to stick it a bit. And I'm going to do a little bit more on this side too. Again, my kitchen is already, I can feel my kitchen getting hot, and that stove is not even at temperature yet. All right, so you get the idea. So it's becoming easier to roll out because it's warming up. I think I'm getting close to the size I want it. I can feel this side's a little thicker than my other side, so I'm going to just try to even that out. Let's take it off a bit. Put a little bit of flour there. And I'm going to give it one more turn. Oh, see, it is really getting warm in here. Get that way. A little bit more flour. And I'm just going to give it one other little roll out. And we'll get our top crust. Again, the one thing I've learned working with pie dough is it really is about how cold your dough is. Now, also, one of the other things in his video, he said, if you found it was getting too unmanageable, just pop this back in the refrigerator, just like this, for a few minutes. I think it's going to be okay. Now, the question is it big enough? I'm just going to take for my pan. Be right back. I put the bottom crust back in the refrigerator because it was getting really warm. Now, you can see that's not bad. And that's going to be good for our pan. All right. Now, especially based on the other ones I did, that's not bad at all. All right, so we got our filling. Get it in our pie. Now, yes, that does look like it's pretty liquidy, but we have thickened it. So as it cooks and cools, it will firm up. I'm going to give it a little push over this way because it seems like there's a lot on one side. All right, guys, here we go. Can I get this side off? It looks okay. I floured it a bit more. Not bad. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is 100 from my other attempts. All right. Now I got a little space there, but that's all right. We can fix that. I'm just gonna cut off right around the edge of my pan. See, my oven has come to temperature. And I don't know, is it me, Hannah, or is it, I'm always cold, I'm always hot, wait is always cold. But I can tell the difference in the temperature in the kitchen.
It's warm in here.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna do that, and then, oops. Also, guys, forgot to tell you, we need an egg wash. I'm gonna get a little tiny bit of water, and again, don't be afraid. Add a little water if you need it, especially if it's getting dry. If you feel like your corners are splitting, I'm gonna add just a little bit of water there. Now that little piece is gonna look a little bit different, but again, guys, I am pretty happy with this. As I do this more often, I'm sure I'll get even more confident and I'll get better at it, because this is my 5th time and I've gotten much better at it. I gotta show you one other thing before I show you our last step. I was so frustrated with this damn pie when I went out to do some shopping today. I thought, just in case, a ready-made pie crust. And you, of course, feel free to use this. Of course, with any pie, apple pie, it's the filling, and I really feel my mom's recipe for the filling is delicious. All right, now, depending upon how talented you are with making edges, that's not something that I have mastered yet. I've tried, but I'm just going to take the good old fork method. Dip it in a little water and just give it a little push. And the water's just so that my fork doesn't stick to the dough, because I think we've done a pretty good job. And Wade can edit some of this out if he so chooses. But and like I've seen the other way you take it and you push it in a bit. It looks pretty, but I'm so thrilled that I was able to get the crust on top of my pie. I'm not gonna chance it. I'm not gonna get any more fancier than this. All right, now a couple of the things we're gonna do. I really wish I could get that crack a little better, but all right. So we got our very well beaten egg in here, guys. We don't need that, and of course this is gonna give us that nice golden brown color. Now, as I put this on really thick, oops, I probably don't need it on the crust. I don't know why I'm doing it there, but the crust is going to get brown anyway. We don't want to do it too thick, because we don't want it to brown too much. And I can use my brush and kind of brush that little seam in. I don't know if you can tell there where I had to add the crust. It does. And over here, it does make it a little bit better. All right. Last thing you got to do is you got to poke a couple holes in the top. One, two, three, four. And of course that's going to allow the steam to come out. Now, normally, I've never done this like this, so we're going to try it though. But I have tried, last time I made it, I didn't cover the sides. Normally when I do a pie, I'll take it, because I was doing it in the oven like that. So I've got a piece of tin foil that's going to be big enough to wrap around my pan, okay? And I folded it in half. Then you want it a little bit bigger to go around your pan, because we're going to take this and all right, so hopefully that will go around my pan. All right, so follow me to the oven, because I'm going to rip my microphone off. I'm going to take my heated pan out so I can get the collar on. All right, I'm going to put our pie on there. I'm going to need 2. All right, so then I'm going to take my collar and I'm going to put it around the whole pie. I could have made that a little bit smaller. Then I'm just going to bend this down a little bit. Because that's a little bit easier than having to, rip off the edges and, make a small, just around the top of the crust. So now, this recipe calls for, so it's going to go in a 450 degree oven, preheated oven, for 15 minutes. All right, and then we're going to turn it to 350, and your pie is going to probably take 45 minutes, depending upon how soft you like your apples, and how long you've let them cook when you were doing the first process, as you'll see in the video. Okay, set a timer for 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes.
Okay,
now.
So I'm gonna turn the oven down to 350 at 15 minutes. And again, at 35, 40 minutes, I'll come back, I'll check it, see how soft the apples are. We tend to like the apples a little soft. I like them to just hold their shape, but be soft. So I'll probably let it cook about 45 minutes. All right, I feel good about that, though. At least got the pie in the oven. See you in about an hour. Oops, sorry about that. Wade asked me a question that he should have asked me before we cut. He said, do you leave the tinfoil on for the whole time? Well, no, of course not. We don't leave the tinfoil on for the whole time. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. I'm going to take the tinfoil off at about halfway through. Depends upon how it's browning, but probably about halfway through to maybe 3/4 way through. If it's not, at that 40-minute mark, if it's not as brown as you want, just leave it in a little bit longer. But probably 25, 30 minutes, you're going to leave the tinfoil around it. All right, see you in an hour. All right, it's been just about 45 minutes. Whoa, it looks like a pie to me. Not the other ones didn't look as good as this. I'm going to put it up there for now. So I took my tinfoil collar off about 25 minutes ago. I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to I'm pretty certain it's where I want it, but we'll give it a little poke just in case. Yep, I think that's yep, awesome. All right, now, unfortunately, if you want your apple pie or any fruit pie to look restaurant perfect, you gotta let it cool down. And I mean really cool down. A fruit pie is really gonna be totally at room temperature or from the refrigerator if you want for it to cut and slice and serve nicely. Then if you want to heat it up in the microwave, throw it in the microwave. Or if you've put the whole pie in the refrigerator, just set the oven, say, to 300 and let it slowly warm up. So we got to let this cool. Now, you could let it bring it right down to room temperature, cover it and put it in the refrigerator overnight. That'd be fine. Or just cover it with plastic wrap tin foil and leave it on the counter. Alrighty, guys. We will see you when our pie is cool. There you go. Looks almost as good as my mother's. Okay, we're back and we're ready to buy. However, it's the next day. I let it cool thoroughly, and Wade just got home from work, so we're gonna have dessert before we have dinner tonight.
Yep.
Again, it looks good.
Sure does.
I know it's good because I've been eating it from the what I got out.
That's delicious.
That's a good apple pie. Of course, apple pie is all about the filling. So,
Yep.
if you watch this video and you get frustrated from how much time a homemade pie crust is given
You
me,
must do a blooper reel.
no, it would take hours. I encourage you to make my pie filling and use a ready-made pie crust.
Apples are too crunchy. They're just right.
Which is they hold their shape, which is how I like them. They got a tiny bit of texture to them. They haven't turned into applesauce. And just the smallest amount of
delicious.
It is a really good pie filling. So. All right, well, thank you for coming along with us on my journey to make homemade pie crust. No, it is delicious. The pie crust is delicious. It's flaky, it's buttery, it's light, it's fluffy.
Yep.
I don't know if I always get that with the ready-made pie crust, but would I do it again and again and again? I'm not quite so sure. But anyway,
Special occasions, maybe.
I hope you enjoyed watching us make our apple pie. That's all I got to say.
Please remember to like and subscribe. Check out cherryhillhomecooking.com, and we'll see you on the next video.
Yay! Ciao.
Bye. Awesome.
Not bad.